Hi Alex, thanks for
Hi.
joining today's video. I'm sure we'll have some good conversations and help out some of the customers around what's happening in the world of AI and asset management. Before we get started and dig deep into today's topic, which is Interpretos in action, just a brief introduction about you would be helpful here.
Yeah, hi, I'm Alex. I'm managing director at MaxTaf. We've been working for nearly 30 years now, so founded in 1997, and we've worked in the Maximo space for that entire time. We started off doing Java customization work, then we moved into test automation, so MaxTaf platform for test automation. And more recently, we've been working on some exciting, innovative AI technologies as well to help customers deploy AI and get answers out of their Maximo.
And what is this AI stuff like? What are you calling it right now? What is it about? Can you give us more detail?
Yeah, so we've been working on a platform called Interpretos for a good 2 years now. There's a lot to it, but the basic concept is that you can talk to your business systems. Maximo is a primary focus of ours, but we also cover a number of other different softwares, Oracle EBS, PeopleSoft, a number of different systems where essentially AI doesn't naturally know or understand that system. And Maximo is a prime example. So yeah, basically it's what we call the dark enterprise is things which aren't publicized on the internet that AI is trained on. And the end result really is that you can type in prompts like you would with, any AI solution, but you get accurate, truthful answers that are genuinely useful by using AI with Maximo.
Yeah, it's quite a journey. Like I've known you for maybe 4 years now.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Where we started working on the MaxTaf automation, and suddenly you come up one day and say, "Viplav, we have got this exciting new product about interpreters," and I was like, "What? This guy? He started we were talking about MaxTaf and how we automate Maximo testing, and suddenly new product. What was the switch about? What triggered you about this moving into from a test automation, performance testing, and a full house test automations company to now concentrating on a business system AI assistant?"
Yeah, well, as a company, I think we've always been quite focused on the IT side of Maximo, which a lot of the focus on implementation and from orgs is on the functional side. How can we do our asset management mission better? And we've always believed that in order to support a good asset management mission, you need high quality system that actually do what they say on the tin, help with keeping records, organizing workflows, that kind of thing, which is obviously what Maximo does. So that was our original vision back in 2012, is we started with essentially quality assurance, and sort of 2022 when AI hit the scene, we thought that would also be an excellent way to help with that as well. Like it's really, a story we hear a lot, for example, is that, with automated testing, the system can be perfectly functional, could have no bugs whatsoever, and yet customers still have this overwhelming amount of data in their system that they can't quite access. So it was a new problem we kind of discovered, or well, not discovered. I mean, it's a well-known problem in the industry. And Dushko, our CTO, you really sort of took the AI stuff by storm. And we had a customer basically say, can you solve this problem with AI? And we didn't know much about AI at the time, and that sent him down a rabbit hole of mad science invention. And we sort of got to the other end with a very good kind of like AI solution. And the vision always was, we use AI internally for a lot of different things. And obviously the expectation is you type in natural language and you get answers that are good out of it. And so actually delivering that vision requires all sorts of things. It requires, having the ability to control hallucinations, and then it also needs up-to-date records so that it can actually give live answers. It needs to understand not only, for example, the Maximo system, but how the client's Maximo system is implemented, and then what language the client uses to interact with the Maximo. So there's lots of complexity that comes out of what you might naturally assume AI can handle, but obviously in the business and enterprise space, we can't afford to be spend, like, you can't afford errors, we can't afford hallucinations, we can't afford misunderstandings. So there's so much that goes into getting a fit for purpose AI out of Maximo.
And if, like, remember we discussing initially that, okay, how do we build trust? I think the part we are talking about hallucination and giving the right data, creating guardrails is what the new world of AI talks about. How do we achieve that so that we are not giving like hallucinated, incorrect data is the main feature that's we should be concentrating on. I think that's on that note. I think it's really good for the listeners to just see what Interpretos is as a platform. Do you have something up and running? Can you share your screen?
Yeah, I've got a deck that I can start sharing. Can you see this?
Yep, it's coming up.
Brilliant. So yeah, I mean, I won't go through the entire deck, but I'll get a couple of things going. But the idea here is you talked about guardrails, and when AI first hit the scene, the big talk about guardrails was safety and ethics. Making sure AI doesn't enable bad actors to do bad things with lots of knowledge. There's lots of guardrails around making sure it doesn't you destroy the world, but there wasn't so much emphasis, partially due to technological implementations, on truthfulness, on veracity of answers. As long as it wasn't being harmful, basically the providers were happy for it to do whatever it wanted. And that problem gets better and better and better, and increasingly so AI hallucinates less and less. But the issue with an organization's systems of record is that AI will never know the answers that are private to that client. So really our emphasis on truthfulness is that we're getting AI to look for data in Maximo to answer the questions. It will always have in its context window, it'll go off, it'll write queries, it'll go and do things. It will always try and pull live data so that if a record was created 20 minutes ago, that record is what's used in the answer, not the one from 24 hours or a month ago or anything like that. So the idea is to do that, and then for the AI to basically then understand what's being asked of it, get as much data as possible to answer the question, and do so quickly. And that's really one of the problems we're aiming to solve here, is that kind of like speed of data access. So that's what we're covering here. It's a big problem in the industry is that people are waiting.
How would you rate it with like somebody going into application and opening the application and viewing the data to coming into interpreters and asking natural language questions? Well, how would you differentiate experience in this?
You're asking like someone who's normally using Maximo versus using So Maximo is a fantastic system, but it's a complicated system. And generally speaking, the way you access data is through querying data, which requires quite a lot of technical knowledge. Basic queries most people can handle, but when it starts to get to very advanced kind of like joins and stuff like that, even if you know how to do it, it can take potentially hours to get a really, really good query out of the system to get the answers. And the vision here is that AI basically does all of that for you, and then it analyzes the data, and then it produces a report out of it. So it does a lot of that kind of data science work that can take potentially weeks to get answers out of, and you can get those answers in seconds or minutes if it's particularly complicated.
Do you have any product screenshots here which we can share?
I don't have any in this deck, but what I can potentially do is just...
And while you do that, I'm like, just for the listeners, when I first time saw the product, I was like, this is good. It's similar to what people would do like in a day-to-day. Like, it's been 3-4 years. Everybody now uses chat GPTs and the Claude chatbot in the web browser and start asking questions. What my experience was, it's quite similar to that, but it's the questions and answer is more specific to the business application. So the implementation and outcome is quite, and also like I've had feedback from people saying, oh, why would I need an assistant in this day and world? We want agentic solutions. And I kind of agree with them, like, oh, do everything automatically. But before we go to an automation solution, like doing everything agentic AI solution, I think people need to come up and understand what AI can do and ask questions, discover things, how it's crunching data. Because this platform is all about how does AI crunch data based on my queries and give me an output which is more grounded and I can build. I think this is more towards building trust on AI and then say, okay, if it can do this, what can it do? And then they come back to and say, oh, Biplav or Alex, can you do this as an agentic solution? I think that would be the next step. But the first step would be come use it, see how AI is helping you turn startup.
Yeah, and that's available. I'm struggling to.
That's okay. That's
to
fine.
get into Interpretos. We can do that in another session.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. You're talking about, how do you believe? How do we start to understand it? And it's a challenge that we've had for years now, which is that AI has such a broad scope, potential application, that it can be hard to even imagine, where do we start? That's why we offer, we offer trial periods, we offer various different things. We sit with you, we do training, we consult to just understand, it's like, and really the question we always ask is, if you could ask anything, what would be your top, what would make you and your team smile? If you got those answers quickly, and then we work towards instructing, getting them to ask the right questions and so on. And it's really
how easy or difficult. Sorry? How easy or difficult would it be for like someone in any organization to like try this product?
Yeah. So we have a live demo. It's on Demo Maximo, so you can get a very quick sense of how it works just by going to interpretos.ai and following that, and you can walk through and get to the sort of sandbox environment. But if you want to see it on your systems, it's really a quick call to us, and it can be a matter of weeks, potentially even days before your system's up and running. Really, all we require is an API connection through to that system, and obviously all the various security architecture design to be completed, and then off they go. So it's a very quick process, and it's a very heavily customized Maximo as well. We have a lot of great methodologies and automated utilities to make the AI work for any Maximo. And we've just started with a client that's very heavily customized, hundreds of thousands of records. It's taken us about 3 weeks to get from the vanilla, I can do vanilla Maximo, to I can do this client's Maximo very well. We went from 70% accuracy through to 90% in 3 weeks. So it's very good.
And I remember you said you could do multiple systems as well, and the chatbot, like for example, a Maximo system or a CRM system. People might ask, why would you need a CRM system in asset management? Maybe you're sending SMS to your customers. If your customers could be a water utility having supplying water to end customer, and then you're sending outage notification. And somebody, I'm thinking, can you then my question to you is, can this connect to both Maximo and the CRM system? And somebody asking, oh, there was an outage on this street. Was there an SMS sent for this work order? Was there a work order? And if there is a work order, was there an SMS sent to the customer? And how would you see that scenario happen?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the main sort of advantages with Interpretos is that it's fully cross-system capable. So there's a number of different pieces there. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, we've got Oracle EBS, PeopleSoft, and SAP is actually covered by Interpretos out of the box. However, if there's a system that's not covered already, it's a very, very quick training and familiarization process. So we can even do custom built, Maximo systems are often connected through to homegrown scheduling systems, for example, and that can be enrolled into Interpretos' fleet as well. So yeah, very much the emphasis is very rarely does Maximo sit in isolation. It's usually integrated with a number of different systems to handle all sorts of record processing, and Interpretos is capable of traversing all of that and getting answers from everything, and being wise to how to use that data from different sources and reconciling, potential discrepancies and that kind of thing. We handle all of that.
Yep, that's fantastic. Before we end, I think some people might ask might have this question that, how does it do it? Like when you say it can connect to multiple systems, does it connect to its DB? Does it connect to its UI? What's the technology looks like? How does the AI learn from these applications?
Yeah, so by default, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to it, but by default, just business as usual. It connects by default through API. It can do multiple things. It can connect directly to database and so on. But for security purposes, APIs are the easiest way to control exactly what AI sees, so that it can't access things that it's not meant to access. So it receives the same controls that humans get.
Yeah.
And then on the training and connection process, that's also done, by a mix of autonomous, mix of AI, and a bit of us as human know-how. We request a little bit of access to the systems and the databases and so on, so we can understand the structure. And then after that, we produce patterns, and those patterns don't require storage of any data at rest or anything like that. We're really just looking to understand how is this data structured and how does one access it. So yeah, you're in complete control over what AI sees, what we see, and so on, so that it very much behaves kind of like a member of staff. You have the same level of control there.
Yeah. I've got one more question. Is there any customer already using this right now?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we've kicked off with a pilot client just recently. So things are looking very good. As I said earlier, we've sort of improved on accuracy by this training over a couple of weeks. We've improved it from 70% through to about 90%. Just to say that the starting point, and this is really important sort of capability, is that 30% it originally couldn't handle. They weren't hallucinated answers. It was just that interpreters would say, I can't find the data, I won't answer the question. So really, the game is always to improve coverage and the sorts of analytics it can do. But it's already inbuilt by design that it's always looking for live data, and if it can't find that live data, it simply won't answer the question. So that's good. That project is going well.
Fantastic. Okay. On that note, hopefully we can do more of such, maybe some use cases. Let's see how the response is. And to the listeners, please share your feedback. Let us know if you're interested to do some trial or reach out. I'll put the details in my caption. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you.